Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, HollywoodShono here, about to give you a Path of Exile video on the Microsoft Surface Pro 7, which I am using right here, connected to my Apple adapter and run through my Elgato 4K 60. And these are the settings I'm using: window full screen, 1280x720 VSync enabled, anti-aliasing off, shadows default, sun quality or shadow quality and sun low, lights low, post-processing enabled, water low, texture medium, 2x anti-tropic filtering, dynamic resolution disabled. The reason I want to have the dynamic resolution disabled is that way the graphics don't look like garbage, and I feel that you need to have the dynamic resolution gone. That way it shows the true value of the resolution. So we're going to run a couple tests, first at 1280x720. We're going to save our settings. You can see we are slightly above 30 FPS currently. And let's go to the coast and get into some fights. And then we will do some more tests. So you can see we're getting about 40 FPS currently at 1280x720. Again, the dynamic resolution will probably actually give you a better gameplay experience. But for the sake of this video, we're going to have the dynamic resolution off. So if you plan on playing at 720, you can easily pull about 35-40 FPS. I imagine in like higher battle scenes it's going to be even more. Yeah, you can see that we're hovering around 35 FPS in combat just fine. And I feel that 30 is a solid amount. Obviously the closer to 60 is better, but anything over 30 is definitely playable and you're not going to have a bad time. So we're going to get into a couple more fights and then we are going to up the resolution. And we'll also try to test at a lower resolution too. Okay, so now we are at 1920x1080p. It's the only change I made, and now we're at about 25 to 27 FPS. So if you want the crispiest looking gameplay, it is going to cost you about 10 frames a second, but I imagine it's still decently playable. I mean, knock on wood when I use this device a little bit more. But as you can see, it's still getting near 30 FPS, which I feel is the bare minimum that you should have to play this game. And you can see the GPU is getting heavily used at 99-100%. This model of the Surface Pro 7 is the i7 512 gig model. Fire Fury goes down without a hiccup there. So we're going to put the resolution at the tablet's max, and then we're going to lower it down and see if we can get 60 FPS at 800x600. Now, because we are connected to the Apple adapter, for some reason we can actually go 4K. But let's go to the native resolution at 2736x1824, which is the resolution on the Surface. So you can see we're getting pretty choppy gameplay at about 20 FPS. This is obviously not a recommended resolution. And just for curiosity's sake, let's actually put it to 4K. I'm actually curious to see how bad it looks. So we're getting like 15 FPS, which not very fun experience. You're not going to enjoy yourself at this resolution, but it does play at lower resolutions, and let's see what 4K actually looks like. Obviously it's going to be 1080p in the video. Yeah, looks like about 15 FPS, but you can see the game really struggling with that. The GPU fully loaded. So when the GPU is that high, you definitely don't want it. And yeah, you can't even set 4K. You can only go 2736x1824. So yeah, you actually can't go 4K. Probably the game can't handle it. So let's try 800x600, the lowest resolution, and see what type of frame rates we get without the dynamic resolution. So you can see we're hovering around the same amount that we had at 1280x720, around 37-38 FPS. So I think if your goal is to hit 60 FPS, you're probably going to have to turn the dynamic resolution on and sacrifice some of the graphics. Even though it looks pretty bad right now. You probably got to sacrifice it even more to hit 60 FPS. But I think even 1280 by 720 is playable. 1280 by 800 is probably fine as well. Anything over 30 FPS I think is acceptable. As you can see, the GPU is fully loaded even at this resolution. Alright, so let's turn on the dynamic resolution and let's try again. As you can see that with the GPU fully taxed, now it's starting to go down a little bit. But look how bad the graphics look with dynamic resolution. Yeah, you definitely don't want that resolution. So let's actually put it back up to 2736 by 1824 with the same dynamic resolution. And it definitely looks a little bit better than the 800 by 600, and it's still maintaining 30 FPS. So if your goal is a good experience, you definitely want to keep dynamic resolution on. Now, I imagine if you actually turn certain other things on, you might get a little bit better gameplay at the cost of a couple FPS. So let's actually play around a little bit here. So if we want, we can turn the texture quality up to high. Maybe make it look a little bit less pixelated. The tablet is at work, so it's hanging for a couple seconds as we fix the resolution up to high, because it has to redo all the textures. So let's turn the anti-static filling up to 16. Let's put the water high. Post-process is enabled. Let's put the lights on all the way. Everything up. Let's get the shadow quality all the way up. And global illumination and anti-aliasing. Very slow. So let's get everything on, but let's keep dynamic resolution on. So you can see that with everything on, it's struggling at like 20 FPS. So if your goal is a good-looking game, and this doesn't even look that great either, because of the dynamic resolution. I'm kind of scared to see what happens when we turn the dynamic resolution off. I bet you we'll get like 2 FPS, or it might even just crash the device. So let's turn it off and see how bad oh my god. Yeah, you're getting like 6 FPS and the GPU is just loaded. So game looks good, you're not going to be able to play it. So with the Surface Pro 7, even the i7 version, you're going to be making a lot of sacrifices here. So you definitely want to play with dynamic resolution, and you're definitely going to want to turn everything down, like pretty much gone. So you definitely don't want anti-aliasing up there. So if we can go 1280 by 720, yep, I think that's fine. You can have everything up with the dynamic resolution. Okay, what just happened to my frame rate here? I think it just didn't accept anything. Okay. So yeah, you definitely want to have the dynamic resolution enabled. It's going to be a much better experience. Yes, your game's going to look like garbage on the surface, but you could definitely hit the targeted 30 FPS even with that. And for Path of Exile, I think 30 FPS is fine. You definitely don't want that in fighting and shooting games. You definitely want to have 60 FPS. But if your goal is play the game, you can definitely do it. Now, obviously, this looks really bad, so you probably want to turn some other stuff down all the way. So by that, you just turn that low. You turn the lighting to shadows. The sun quality goes low. The number of lights low. You can have medium for default. Post-processing, you definitely want to keep on. Water detail low. Texture quality medium. And now it's going to pause again for a few seconds. So yeah, turning everything off is super important with Path of Exile if you're going to play it on the Surface Pro 7. If you're running it off a Razer Blade, you can probably go 3840 by 2160 all day long, and it's not going to matter. But you can see, yeah, our game just crashed from all that. So if you get an idea of how Path of Exile runs on the Surface Pro 7, and if somebody like Joshua14 who does a lot of gaming tests or anybody else wants to give me some better feedback as far as testing out games, please leave your comments down below. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, kids.
www.youtube.com/HollywoodShono. Subscribe, bitches!